Hello, welcome to WITI Africa. WITI stands for Workforce Innovation, Trust, and Influence. WITI Africa is a platform where we have conversations with STEM professionals who are making significant contributions in their community of influence in Africa. My name is Winifred Ireyi. I'm the CEO of EY Communications and its subsidiary ThinkSTEM Foundation. I'm also the head of WITI Africa. Joining me today is Catherine Omada Ume. Catherine Omada Ume is a seasoned fintech professional. She currently heads the Business Innovation and Delivery Department of a leading e-payments organization in Nigeria. She's a certified project manager and has worked in the fintech industry for over 15 years. She has been a Society of Women Engineers member for 11 years and has served as a Society of Women Engineers ambassador, global ambassador for over 4 years. She's an active STEM advocate who is passionate about encouraging young women to take on STEM professions and excel in what they do. She currently mentors young students in SWE Next clubs in different schools in Nigeria. She studied electrical and electronics engineering, and her hobbies are baking, cooking, and traveling. You can find Catherine Omada Ahmed on LinkedIn. Catherine, thank you so much for being my guest today. You will have to unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Winifred. It's a pleasure being here today. Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. So today is an encore because we did this like 2 weeks ago and we forgot to record it. So we're going to be doing an encore conversation. But so I'm really so glad because I was so carried away with the conversation 2 weeks ago. I did not realize that we were not recording it. So Catherine, you've gotten me twice in a month. Should I say um, should I say thank you for just agreeing to come again and to just share your knowledge with our audience and the WITI community at large. Thank you, Catherine, for agreeing to do it again. Okay. So Catherine, tell me, your background is electrical and electronics engineering. Can you just share your trajectory? How did you get into your career as business innovation, head of business innovation and delivery in a fintech organization? Specifically, I would like you to hone in on the intersection between your academic as an electrical electronics engineer and innovation and delivery that you do within the fintech sector.
Okay, thank you so much, Winifred. So yes, my first degree was in electrical electronics engineering, and electrical electronics actually has a lot of modules that cuts across different aspects of careers. For example, there is business in engineering, there's law in engineering, there is electronics. And so I actually did a master's in computing and information technology, which is like the electronics, like advancing the electronic side of electrical electronics engineering. And so my current role in business innovation and delivery is actually a technical role. It's not a business role, even though there is a business name there, but it just a team to implement new innovations. So if there is a new business innovation, we would analyze and provide a technical scope and implement for the organization. So yes, it's when you talk about intersection, it's actually in line with what I have been trained in school. It's financial technology. So it's using technology to provide financial solutions to other organizations. So my background has a lot to do with this, and even more because I had to grow on my skill by carrying out engaging in trainings and certifications to get here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So today I was on the Future of Education Summit, and one of the challenges they talked about was that a lot of academic institutions and academic institutions across the board, that means right from secondary school to high school to college, that a lot of them don't get funding, they don't get collaboration with businesses. Businesses expect the academic institutions to train students who are employable and who have the skills. But businesses in Africa do not want to be a stakeholder in investing in the education. And so you had people coming to talk about the financial models that will allow businesses become stakeholders and invest in the pipeline development that they are going to profit from. And they talk a lot about internship, why internship is important. And the lady who works for Wema Bank, so it's a financial bank in Nigeria, and she talked a lot about why innovation was very important in the financial world. That in the financial world, a lot of the customers do not even know the problems that they're going to encounter. They have an idea, but you have tech professionals from the thought-provoking questions they ask, they are able to find the problem and create the solution. So it's not really about solving problems. There is finding the problem so that the customer gains clarity that that is the problem that the customer has and can potentially have, and then they create the solution. So that's where that fintech comes in, where you are having these thought-provoking conversations with customers to discover the root problems and creating solutions so that you can meet the customer's needs. So she gave an insight. She gave us that flair that fintech is really about finding the problem and creating the solution. So there's such a need for people with technical backgrounds within the financial world. And so that is where all that innovation is really very important. And another thing that they talked about was that in addition to just having businesses collaborate with academic institutions, you need community to also be involved, because the communities, they are the consumers of the solution. And so you want them to be stakeholders in the solution that you are preferring. A lot of the work that you do, Catherine, at the STEM advocacy level is with community. So can you just tell us how you got engaged into this work of serving the community, and at what level do you serve? Do you serve at the college level, or do you serve at the secondary school level? How did you what was your journey to get engaged? You are a fintech professional, you are sitting in your air-conditioned office, but then you look outside of your world and you start to look at the community. How did your interest develop where you wanted to engage in community and really begin to support the students in the community so that you can be part of the tech talent pipeline development?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my journey through school met me having just few ladies in the whole of the engineering faculty. So there are lots of young girls out there who don't know that they can actually venture into the so-called men-dominated careers, and they can still do well. So we were just four in my class out of 95 students, four ladies and 91 guys. The ratio is actually wide. But I see, because I see lots of opportunities for women, they're good managers, they can actually also do even better. And so I had this urge to encourage the younger generation that this is not as difficult as you think it is. You can actually add value, you can actually solve problems. And so after my master's, I joined SWE, and one of the mission for SWE, if you're a member of SWE and you are a global ambassador, one of the mission is to carry out outreaches and ensure that you onboard new members and increase the numbers. So I started by reaching out to schools, and this time secondary schools, because the younger girls in secondary schools in Nigeria, we call them secondary schools, but these are the 12 to 18, age 12 to 18. They are the ones at the point of making decisions, because the ones in the university already made a choice of what they want, and they are either in the technical area or something else. But the ones from 12 to 18 are the ones in the decision-making pool. And so we're not kind of coercing them, but you're encouraging them that as you make your decision, don't let being a female or a girl hinder you from taking on certain roles or career paths, because you can actually thrive in them. So my focus area has been the younger girls in secondary schools, that's 12 to 18. And I'm a counselor, I'm a SWE global ambassador, and a counselor for 3 of the schools. So I've enrolled them as SWE Next clubs, and I carry out activities with them on a regular basis. And so that's how I've been able to get into this space of encouraging younger girls.
Yeah, so
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for sharing that. I always share that I decided to become an engineer because a STEM professional like you, 4 decades ago, she is a member of the Whitty Hall of Fame, Dr. Mrs. Olumaduka. So she came to my school. She must have been in her early 40s, and she came to my school, which is a private boarding school. And she came to my school, and she was wearing lipstick. Can you believe it? Lipstick. I always carry my lipstick and high heels. And she came and she told us that she was an engineer. I had never seen an engineer was female and one was wearing lipstick with high heels. And because all the engineers I'd seen, they were male and they were really outside. Julius Berger, I don't know if you're familiar with them in civil engineering. So she connected the dots for me. She connected the dots between my interest in science and technology, science, especially physics. I love physics and mathematics. She connected the dots between that and the career. I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I hated blood. I didn't want to be an accountant. I just couldn't spend all my time counting money. That's why I looked at account. I didn't want to be a lawyer, although all those areas of interest, I had the academic background for that. But when she talked about her work and her personality, was very much like mine. I'm an outdoor person. I love to be outside, working and living outdoors. So engineering was such a good fit. So there's such an important role for STEM professionals like you, like myself, to be out there within the schools to share, because when people can see you, that sparks their curiosity. They see a vision of who they can be. My daughter just graduated from Princeton, summa cum laude in software engineering, but that's because she has a mother who is an engineer, so she can see what she can become, and that sparks their curiosity, and you continue to nurture it. And really, we met through SWE in 2019, and I remember that I wanted to go global. I'd been doing a lot of outreach in Charlotte, in North Carolina. I got to meet Dr. Laura Bottomley, and COVID happened, so I couldn't really continue work with Dr. Laura Bottomley. But I remember sharing my passion with Dr. Laura, telling her that I wanted to go to Africa and I wanted to partner with her to go to Africa. And then COVID happened and we really couldn't follow through that partnership. But then I met you. I met Dr. Laura before I met you. But then I met you, and all of a sudden, my vision became a reality because I wanted to empower globally, but execute locally. And you were actually doing the sort of work I was thinking of, and that's why I decided to partner with you and to really support you, definitely financially, so that you could gain access to the schools, but you would mobilize the students by introducing them to project-based learning. That is what makes our model very different, because in the classroom, there's a lot of theory. I homeschooled my children, and one of the reasons I did that was because when I graduated from university, summa cum laude in electrical and electronics, I was really surprised that there was such a big gap with the industry. And I was like, my children are not going through this. And so the work you were doing at the local level, where you were doing projects with the students, so that they could connect the theory that they had learned in the classroom to real life. That was definitely what I had been promoting in Charlotte. And so I would like you to give us an example of a school that you have actually engaged with, which you would consider your model school, your school of success, where you've actually done work that has sparked the curiosity of students and has caused students to actually go into the higher education and really pursue engineering.
Okay, thank you. So I must also say that getting the schools is really not easy. There were times when I had to go as far as speaking to the Commissioner of Education to get the permission to speak to the principals, the administrators, to buy into the idea of having science projects with the students. So I had done that in about 5 or 6 schools, and there was this particular school that and allowed us to come in, but they had so many students. They had over 300 students that they wanted us to, because they wanted us to speak to from the youngest to the oldest. So all the classes, they merged all the classes together and had the girls. So it's a Dominican school. That's the name of the school. And they are actually registered as SWINEX Club. So because we went there as SWE and asked if we could come to have outreaches. The first outreach was very, very exciting for the students because we went with gifts, items. We had activities like planning, pitching your goals, and we had students volunteer for that. So the students who were bold enough to pitch their goals to everyone, we had them, we gave them gifts, and then we had competitions in science projects for the team that had the best results within time. We were teaching them about project. It has to be within scope. You manage your resources and you finish on time, and there's quality in your work. So we had those kind of engagements, and the students were really very excited, and their parents were excited as well. This particular school reached out to me that every term they would like us to come and carry out activities. So it became very, very easy. So every term they get to give us a date, and then we go there with our team. Of course, I get volunteers from the affiliate, the University of Lagos affiliate group, that's the SWE group, and then we go there to carry out science projects and competitions among the school students. So it's been a successful one for me because the parents look up to that. The teachers are always looking out for when are they coming. The students are always very excited because each time we come around, they have refreshments, they have gifts, and they learn new things. And these new things they learn, they take it away to learn to further practice at home. So it has been a very successful one with this particular school. I would say that's one the most successful outreach or gathering I've had in the course of advocating for STEM among the 12 to 18 age group of girls.
So thank you so
Thank you.
much for sharing that. One of the things you've shared is that it's really very difficult, very challenging to gain access to the schools. That each of the schools, they have a government regulating body, whether it's a government school, whether it's a state school or a federal school, or whether it's a faith-based school, a Catholic school, they have regulating bodies. And you have to really go through the eye of the needle to gain access to these schools. And I know that you have kind of said it. I know how challenging it has been because I've partnered with you for over the past 5 years, and that it can be very challenging. And sometimes when you do get permission to go into a school, you have with a very short time to get into the school, to have a pop-up and do and roll out your project and get the students engaged. One of the amazing things that you have done, Catherine, is that you have gone into the university and you have pulled the students from the university that belong to the Sweetness Club within the university. We call it the Sweet Collegiate. When it's within the university, it's called the Sweet Collegiate. And when it's in the secondary school, we call it the Sweetness Clause. You have actually gone into the university, into the academic institutions, and you have created this collaboration, which I call a tech talent pipeline development, where you have engaged the volunteers from the colleges and then the secondary school students, so that the secondary school students can see what they can potentially look like. And then you have gone into the business world to pull STEM professionals like yourself. And then within the school that you are serving, you are getting parents to engage in this project. And then you're getting teachers to engage. So all the project management that you're doing within your office work as the head of business innovation and delivery, that's where it comes alive within the community. Your ability within 2 weeks to put all these pieces together and to go out and show up and you say your hobby is baking cake. That is a major part of your outreach because you give them cakes and that encourages them to all come together. So what you've done is really to build a STEM ecosystem, which is not a small thing. And because you've done this over a period of time, the school that is your success story has now become your partner, where they have actually put you on their calendar and they actually reach out to you to say, we're expecting you. That is something that is very commendable. I've been part of this for 5 years, so that's why I'm unpacking it. I know the way you talked about it, it seemed like very easy, but it's actually a phenomenal effort on your part. In order to do this, trust, you had to build trust. WITI is all about workforce innovation, trust, and influence. People do business with who they trust and who they like. So tell me, how were you able to build trust? First with the universities. Universities are the engine of knowledge. They create knowledge. There's a lot of learning and relearning and unlearning happening within the university. That's what the future of education was talking about. Tertiary education, how important it is in Africa. So how were you able to build trust where those students will come and build trust within the secondary school, within the business community? Tell me about that. Give me more about that.
Okay, thank you. So I'll speak about one of the major challenges with this, then I'll talk about trust. So one of the major challenges I face is finance. And so that's why I've reached out to people like yourself and other volunteers, the Girl Force movement, WITI, and the likes of you. You have provided some financial support in the past. So how I've been able to gain trust from your trust because each time I have a project, I outline what is required that needs financial support. And once I am able to get the money, I'm very transparent about what we are doing, what we've spent our monies on, what we have bought, and what is left. I've had to um, uh, show receipts and all of that. So that's by the way. Then when we get to the school, because every school have their rules and regulations, we don't cross the lines. We ensure that we don't cross the lines. And how do we do this? For me, getting the volunteers is easy because we are paying them. It's not free. We tell them we go to because we have groups. I create groups for each project, WhatsApp groups. And if you're interested, you join in. I tell you from the onset how much you're going to be paid, what you're going to benefit from the event. We give refreshments, sometimes souvenirs. So I always ensure that I promise and I deliver on the promise. So you don't say, I'll give you this, and then you don't give them. Everything is very transparent. I carry out trainings with the volunteers, so everybody gets to know what they are meant to do. So if, for example, I get 10 volunteers, I try to delegate the task according to the strength of the volunteers. Um, and I know that by asking questions, like who would like to do this, who would like to do photography, who would like to take pictures, who would like to stay with the students doing the project. So people actually volunteer themselves based on their strength. And if at any point I find out someone is really not very strong in what they say they are, I also tend to give them what I think they are good in. So the roles and the responsibilities are discussed from the onset. Trainings are carried out. We carry out online trainings at least 1 or 2 times before the event, and we know the school regulations. And even when we are not sure, we keep asking. So I don't actually print flyers until they approve them. I have to show a prototype to the school administrator, and they would approve it before I actually make it known to anybody else. So I have to get their buy-in from flyer to the date, to the time, to the program, to the activities that are going to be carried out. I also let them know how many people I'm coming to their school with, and we adhere to their rules. If you have to sign in before you get in, by all means sign in. If there are areas you shouldn't get to in the school, you shouldn't get there. If you shouldn't talk to the students directly, don't do that. So we adhere to the school regulations. We communicate every line of action. I don't go out of my way to implement anything that has not been approved. So I actually get the school's approval in every step of the way. So because I have done this constantly over time, I've been able to gain their trust. They know I won't come in to do what I like, but what has been agreed. And the students know that I won't promise and not deliver. That's the volunteers, I mean. The teachers know that we cooperate with them. So when they are around, we give them some responsibilities and roles that also make them involved in the process. We're not just ignoring them. And we allow them to do some tasks so that they are also involved. And the students, we ensure that whatever project we're doing, they're safe. We don't go there with projects that can create chaos, like acid projects or fire projects and all of that. We try to keep our project within the safety guidelines. And so over time, they've been able to trust us because we are consistent in our doings, and we are not going out of the required regulations and guidelines. So that's
Thank you
how
so
I've
much.
been able to achieve
You've
that.
been able
Thank
to
you.
build trust. Thank you so much. They're very, very valuable nuggets that you have shared here. I always, when I talk about executing, implementing locally, that's so important because you know the local context. You understand how your world operates. I live here in Pensacola, Florida. I moved from North Carolina. I live here in Pensacola, Florida. And I kind of I'm figuring out the local context here. When I was in North Carolina, I understood all these rules and regulations to access the schools to in North Carolina. And so because you know that and you are following their rules and regulations and then communicating with them, that's what I really like, because I always say as a leadership development consultant that clarity is kind, and clarity starts with communication. Leaders have to communicate. They have to bring people along. They cannot, not in the world of digital economies, the world that we live in, say this is what you do, this is what you do. That command and control, that model has gone. You have to bring people along. Even I am in the States and you bring me along. I am always so excited because from the beginning of the project, even before you get to the school, you're communicating with all your sponsors. Apart from sharing the finances and telling them, you are sharing the projects, you've shared the agenda, so you are continuously communicating. And you can never over communicate as a leader, especially when you have a multi-stakeholder event where you have different schools coming together, collaborating to do a project, everybody understanding their roles and responsibilities. And because you are a manager and a leader in an organization, you can make decisions based on your intuition, based on your critical thinking and strategic thinking, and assess the volunteers to say, I believe you are capable of doing this role, even if you volunteered for it. And I believe you may not be capable. And some of those decisions just come because of your level of experience. And that's what I really admire about what you do, that within that short time frame, you are able to pick people. And those people do deliver over the past 5 years. I can attest that those people are they execute on the objectives that you give them. And then so we've talked about communication, about how important communication is, how important it is to delegate, to know your roles and responsibilities in order for you to build this trusting ecosystem, and how important it is to keep everybody engaged. The teachers are excited when you share the videos, you take projects that will engage the students, and projects that the students understand the underlying principle because they've been taught that in school, in the classroom. And so that particular day is full of excitement. It's not just the food they're excited about, but also the project. So project-based learning is one of the things that they talked about in the Future of Education Summit, about that is so important in the curriculum, that is sustainable for us to do project-based learning, but also problem-based learning, where we're looking at problems that are reality problems that are occurring in industry, and bringing those problems into the school system and getting the students to come up with solutions. That is how you spark curiosity. That is how you spark innovation, because now the students are now not looking for just what my professor is telling, the project my professor is giving me, or the project I've chosen to do. But the student is engaging with businesses to come up with to do projects that will affect the bottom line of the business. So they call that problem-based learning: industry problems, professor problems, and community-based problems, students being engaged in all of that. So I really like, that's something that we are going to implement in the projects that we do going forward. But so far we have been doing project-based learning, where we come in with the projects and the students engage in that. And that has really been the core of building this trusting community. So well done. It's been an amazing adventure over these past 5 years. and we've been working together. I only got to meet you last year at the SWIT conference, but between the two of us, you had to trust me when I reached out to you in 20 I think it was 2020, right? Just the beginning of 20, before the pandemic. We did actually end of 2019 was when I reached out to you, and I shared my vision with you. I know Dr. Laura Bottomley is here too. I shared it with her before I met you. And in 20, just before the pandemic, we executed one of the projects. So it has been a game changer. A lot of students that have been part of this our ecosystem, they are in university, they are studying engineering. Some of the volunteers have even gotten scholarships, and they have actually moved out of the country just because they've been involved in this whole activity. So we also have yes, Dr. Bottomley say we can all collaborate going forward. Absolutely. I'm just trying to settle down in Pensacola, Florida. I'm definitely going to reach out to you. But even the volunteers, I know you talked about the fact that you give them a stipend, but what you give them is really little. I mean, your sponsors provide the money, but it's such a transformative experience for the volunteers, because these volunteers who are students now get to meet STEM professionals who are in the industry, and they get the opportunity to maybe even get internships to go into businesses and to actually learn on the business. So there's a lot of networking that happens there. So the whole STEM ecosystem that we're building is really what they were talking about today in the Future of Education Summit. So you should have seen me shouting that, yeah, we're right on the money, we're doing the right thing. You know, it's one thing to talk theory, it's another thing to really be working at the grassroots level and executing and meeting these challenges. And because we are engineers, we solve when we meet these challenges. So kudos. What message would you like to leave with us? Because I will open the floor so that people can ask you questions. We have 12 minutes. Before, just to round up my line of questioning, what is your message that you would like to leave to the audience that is here? You know, because for me, I believe everybody has a seat at the table where STEM advocacy is concerned. So to the audience, and maybe to the girl child, tell me, Catherine, what's your last message?
Okay, so my last message would be that in everything we try to do, we should have a goal. What the goal should also be smart, should be measurable, should have timelines, so that we are not just doing stuff without direction. And for the girl child that would want to engage in STEM, they need to know what their strengths are, and also to do some bit of research before deciding on what part of technology or STEM they would like to engage in, and also to have smart goals with timelines, maybe short smart goals and long-term goals, because that would really help. Even if you deviate from your goal, you won't deviate so far away, and at least you're in line. And even if you want to change your goal, at least you're being intentional. You're not just being purposeless. We need to be purposeful and intentional in life, really. So my advice to the younger generation is do a bit of research before deciding on what you want in life, especially career-wise, and
Thank you.
and set out the goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to open the floor. We kind of don't have too much time left, just 10 minutes. If there's anybody that would like to engage in this conversation, which is a learning community. Yes, we have a speaker sharing the amazing work they're doing locally, but there's so much knowledge, you know, within this community. So if you would like to share something that you are doing, I know Dr. Laura Bottomley shared what she was doing, but we were not recording it. So I really would like her to share it again now that we are recording it, so that she can really share the amazing work they're doing in, I believe it was Kenya, she said. So Dr. Laura Bottomley, before I get Edmond to speak, can you just unmute yourself and just share the amazing work that you're doing in it was Kenya, right? Was it Kenya?
It's Rwanda, actually.
Rwanda. So
Yeah, so thank you, Catherine, forgive me for using your first name. Thank you for letting me hear what you're doing, because it's absolutely wonderful and I really like it. So we take students from North Carolina State University here in North Carolina to Rwanda twice a year, where we partner with a local nonprofit that helps us get access to the schools, because what you were saying about getting access to the schools is very, very important. And we also partner with 2 local universities and get volunteers from those universities, engineering students, to come in the classroom with us. And then my students and the local university students together deliver STEM, usually mostly engineering-based activities to the children in the classrooms in Rwanda. In March, it's primary school students, and in May, it's secondary school students.
amazing, amazing. And one of the things they talked about in the future of education, talking about the fact that Africa, 60% of its population is below 30. So the future of the workforce is really African. Just even the brain drain, they're being trained in Africa and they're being hired internationally. But one of the things they talked about was scalable models. Having an education model that you can scale across different communities, across different countries. And so what you have described, Dr. Laura Bottomley, is very, very similar to what we have been trying to do in Nigeria. And going forward, that's the purpose of these conversations, is really to highlight synergies that we can have between, the audience, and we can collaborate and actually go and impact our communities. Because I do work at the UN level with the Office to Special Advisor to Africa, but there's a lot of theory, a lot of conversations, but we have to make impact at the grassroots level. The average child, we want them to be talking about sustainable development goals. We don't want it to just be within the inside of a book or maybe on the website. We want it to be on the tongue of every child, so they understand that they have a moral compass. When you're talking about curriculum, you're talking about it from ESGs, you're talking about it from sustainable development goals. And that sort of information will become a reality when we begin to collaborate. So I'm really excited to see you here, Dr. Bottomley. I think I sent you my energy when I went to the summit today to say come, because moving forward, we definitely would love to continue this conversation and look at how we can collaborate, maybe, and have you do some work with us in Nigeria and in other African countries. One of the things that they talked about was, as a challenge, is that an African that goes to, like a Nigerian that gets a degree from a Nigerian university, that degree should be acceptable in Rwanda. The certificate should be acceptable. It is not right now. So really looking at standardization, those things are really important. So scalable models, collaboration is going to help standardization become a reality. So there were so many bullet points that they talked about, which I do not have too much time to talk about. So I will let Edmond unmute himself and ask his question. Thank you so much, Dr. Bottomley.
Mine is a small statement that leads to a question that's big, and I'm really anxious to hear your wisdom on this, everybody. The difference between STEM and STEAM. The difference in what those mean in terms of education, and then later on what they mean in terms of career and leadership from a region or a country. Grassroots level, I've been a teacher in the arts, so I've seen how that affects things. So I come out of science, engineering, and music, and I've seen how leadership, educated only at a STEM level, in the corporate world does not bring the leadership that the corporation necessarily needs, but those who have that STEAM education do bring that type of leadership. That's my personal observation. I'd love to hear your wisdom on that.
Thank you so much for that, Edmund. When my daughter started in Princeton and she wanted to do medicine, she went in for pre-med. My son was in Stanford at that time. And I had a rule because I'd homeschooled them for a couple of years. And I had a rule that I was raising a human being. I wasn't raising somebody who was put in a box and an A student. That was something for academic. For me as a parent, I was raising a human being, and I wanted a human being to know about everything, to know about arts, to know about science. And so in my homeschool environment, they had to engage in arts, even if they were strong STEM students. And so when they went to university, I insisted that they had to take art classes. They had to take there was humanities, but there were also art. And I remember my daughter screaming, "Mom, I can't draw. And I said, "You are a human being, you can learn. The brain is neuroplastic, you can learn anything." And so that year, our freshman year, she took art. And that set her apart from everybody else. Because when you do art, you are able to think outside the box. The world that we live in, the type of employees that the business world is looking for are people who can think outside the box, disruptive thinking, diverse perspectives, people who can see that's why inclusion and diversity is a big deal. I know they talks about that from gender, race, but also people from different disciplines coming into the STEM world. Because from when you put a problem on the table, the person who has a background in art will look at the solution from a very different place from the person who has a background in science. So art has a place to play. After that first year, she did very well in art. She now did a minor in art. She had gone in strong STEM. She did a minor in art. And just the way the artist thinks, when I say art, I'm not just talking of drawing, but people who are in the world of humanities, that flavor that they train them, the way they train them to think, helps in problem solving. So STEAM and STEM intersect. The reason why I don't like the acronym STEAM is that art is really a part of STEM, so there's no need to differentiate and create a separate thing called STEAM, because I really believe to design a car, there's a lot of mechanical engineering there, but there's a lot of art. Just look at the design itself. Just look at the curves. Just look at all the things that they do just to build a car. So there's art already ingrained in actually trying to design and deliver a product that will meet the needs of communities. So my answer to your question is that STEAM and STEM, they are hand in glove. I know this is a world that Dr. Laura Bottomley, this is a world that people in academia, this is a world that they deal in. In my world, I call it STEM, and I encourage people that are strong in STEM, I encourage them to get involved in art. I tell you that my son graduated from high school at 14, and I made him go back to another high school. And I changed all his subjects. And I said, this time around, you're going to take only art and humanities, and you are going to be a teacher's assistant for STEM, and you're going to support your teacher to teach your peers, peer-based learning. And when he graduated from Stanford, summa cum laude in computer science, he graduated as a mature black man. But his appreciation for art and the way he solves problems was because of the second high school that he did only art courses. So art is just is a part of STEM. At the end of the day, we are human beings. Our brains can learn different things, and we bring our whole self to solve problems. Whether your gender is female or male, you bring your whole self, you bring your whole experience to solve the problem. STEM is about solving problems. STEM is about the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to solve real life problems. and that involves art. Art is very core. So that is my take on it. I don't know if anybody has a take, but I will have to, whoever has a response, I will give you a few minutes to respond to it, and then I'll have to bring this conversation to a close. Does anybody have a response to that? I hope I didn't ramble on and on.
One thing briefly, my
Yeah.
experience getting back into the classroom in Orange County School District was because policy differentiated between the two and took the arts completely out of grade school from kindergarten up, literally took the crayons out of the classroom. So I was one of the teachers that was brought in to reverse that trend, and they changed the board and they got back. But that was, I was learning about policy as well, but we can get into that later. Thank you.
Yeah. So Adekoya, you know, I see you have your hand raised. I have to meet a client, so I will. So your question, your comment or question has to be really short because I have to meet my client at 2. So can you and I have to drive to meet my client. So can you, Adekoya, ask your question?
Okay, thank you, man. The comment is very short. I was just going to talk about your comment on arts being part of STEM. So
Yes.
that's referencing to my time while I was in school. So I studied civil engineering. So at that time, I remember that there was emphasis at the early stage of engineering to master how to do designs. You need to know more of arts and technical drawings. So I think you are kind of right. Having art as part of STEM is very important.
Very important. Thank you so much. Thank you for that comment. It's really important to have all these real life examples because I tell you, people remember stories. They may not remember all your facts, but they remember stories. Stories connect you to people's hearts. And I'm sure at the end of this conversation, you remember my children because I talk about them all the time. I have to brag on them. This is my only time to brag on my children. But anyway, so thank you so much, everybody, for this time. These conversations are just beginning, initial conversations. They are conversations to help you go away and think deeply about your own role in promoting STEM education within your community. You have heard from Catherine Omada Amen about how busy she is as the head of business innovation and delivery. I remember staying with her in the SWE conference and her phone was off the hook. I could not believe how busy she is. But yet she makes time to go into our communities to give back. So really there is no excuse. Every one of us here has a role to play in promoting STEM education. The problems that we see in the world, they are very complex. They need multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder approach to solving these problems. And that's where STEM comes in. At its very core, that is what STEM is all about, integrating science, technology, integrating different things together to solve problems. So each one of us has a role to play, to go into our communities, to be advocates, to encourage students, to bridge the gender gap, so that there are more STEM professionals solving the problems that we face to make our world a better place, to improve the lives of individuals, improve the lives of communities, and most especially to meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 of these goals, and so each one of us has a place, a seat at the table. Thank you so much. Next month, meet us again, second Thursday of the month. Meet us. This was a one-off because I did not record the meeting on the 8th. But our next meeting, I believe, is September 17th. Don't quote me. But meet us. We have these conversations. We spotlight amazing people doing work at the African level, not necessarily in Nigeria, just the whole of Africa. So we'll be having a conversation like this next month. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Winifred, and thank you, Catherine. And I think a critical part is AI agents, how we can really upskill the community. We are talking about that, in an hour at our monthly AI session. So I put the link in the chat where everybody can come participate. And this is the future, and a lot of the people can catch up or may already be there, but if they're not there already, I think that's how we can elevate everybody, right? Winifred and Catherine, I think. So anyway, you got to go to your meeting.
I
Thank
have to
you.
go to my.
Thank you.
I forgot to say thank you to Catherine. Thank you, Dr. Laura Bottom. I am
Thank-
going to contact you. I'm just
Please.
been trying to settle too many moving pieces in my life.
I know. I want to talk to more to Catherine too, so that would be great.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
So
thank you
connect
for
with
time.
Catherine. Dr. Bottom, please connect
Thank
with
you.
Catherine on LinkedIn, and everybody connect with Catherine. Catherine, can you share your LinkedIn so that they can connect with you?
Okay, I'll do that now.
David, I have to
just-
leave. You want to hold on the room? I have to drive to my client. Okay, now
Be
bye-bye.
careful, don't drive,
I
drive
will.
too fast.
Okay, now bye-bye. Bye,
Yeah.
everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Oops, sorry, I'm just trying to get.
No, we're good. I reclaimed the host before she left, so then the room got.
Okay, that's the link. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.